This is Radar from the Radar Tape Blog coming at you with another edition of MLB Observation of the 2023 season, week 27. So, baseball regular season has officially ended. This last weekend was the last weekend of the regular season. A lot of teams, like the White Sox, had their fan appreciation day yesterday, which I went to. There was a few things that were on the line yesterday. The Astros won their division. That was one of the few things that was on the line yesterday. Was that there wasn't much on the line yesterday because the Twins and the Orioles clinched their division. The Rays and the Rangers made the playoffs, but it was between the Astros and Rangers who was going to win the division. And the Brewers won their division, and we know Atlanta won their division, and Philly and Miami both clinched the playoffs, and LA won their division, and Arizona clinched the playoffs. If I'm leaving anyone out, then I do apologize. But yeah, if it's 3 division winners and the wild card is Tampa, Texas. Toronto. Yeah, so Toronto also. Now then, let's get to the things here. The Mets. We're not playing for anything, so backup outfielder Rafael Ortega and rookie Marcuno Marciano batted 1 and 2 in some of the games. Makes sense. They're big-time veterans, middle lineup hitters. Alonso and Lindor in the middle lineup. Those are things that made sense. Not the Lindor batting second part. And Danny Mendick is following in the lines of Jeff McNeil, a second baseman playing the outfield, and he's not an outfielder. Phillies, they still have Kyle Schwarber leading off, where he's going to have this quote-unquote record of leadoff home runs when the dude is all or nothing, and that's like a 4 or 5 or 6 hitter. You want those guys to drive and run. I like that Edmundo Sosa batted second. What I didn't like when he batted fifth. Okay, Harper playing first base. I know injuries, but he's a good outfielder. Stott when he's batting 3 one day or fifth. Again, not a power hitter. Marsh is a glove first player, so batting them in the lineup like 5 or 6 is stupid. Trey Turner batted second, which is what they finally fixed earlier in the season. Jake Cave is your backup outfielder, not a backup first baseman. If Harper is not playing first base, you have Bohm, Castellano, and Kyle Schwarber, and Garrett Stubbs, and JT Realmuto. There's plenty of guys on this team that can play first base. Nicky Castellanos, speaking of him, is a power hitter, not a number 2 hitter. And then they used an opener yesterday because the Phillies were like, we already clinched it. And the funny thing was, the opener was Matt Strahm, who was in the rotation to start the season, and Michael Lorenzen, one of their big trade deadline acquisitions, pitched out of bullpen again. Giants. Lamonte Wade Jr., we've been over this all season. You have had a cluster injuries in the outfield, and you've on like your 5th or 6th or 7th option in the outfield that you somehow realized a few games that Jock Peterson and Lamonte Wade Jr. are both natural-born center fielders, that you'll play them. Nope. Wade has played a lot of first base when I thought it was going to be VR and J.D. Davis and Wilmer Flores. There's a lot of Lamonte Wade at first base, and him leading off for batting second is fine. You Skremski batting second. Sable is one of the guys who did play the outfield, and he's not an outfielder, he's a catcher, so I'm glad he caught this weekend. Austin Slater is another outfielder they have, but again, he's not a center fielder or a leadoff hitter, he's a power guy. And this Luciano guy, he's again a young guy, rookie, in middle lineup, and Estrada, who's a utility player on most teams. Again, 3 is not where you put a utility guy. Brandon Crawford batted leadoff in his last day, supposedly. He has not announced he's retiring, but they decided to have him lead off. And Ross Stripling, who's a starting pitcher, pitching out of bullpen, which they've been doing this year with Wood, DeStefani, and Sean Manaea and Junis. So, come on. LA, the whole Mookie Betts leading off, and Freeman batting second, and Will Smith batting third. Would be slightly better if Freeman was batting cleanup. That would help out. Ahmed Rosario, they traded for him, but again, playing him as shortstop when he's a bad defensive shortstop. They moved him to second base one game this weekend. Josh Outman's a nice rookie story, but him batting 6th and Chris Taylor batting 7th is a little too high. I want those guys lower in the lineup. And why would you get Miguel Rojas in the offseason? Why would you trade back for Kiki Hernandez and get Ahmed Rosario if you're going to still play Mookie Betts, your best asset, in the middle infield? It just makes no sense. The Mariners, the JP Julio, that's the best combination of them at the top. JP Crawford had a great offensive season. They kind of been playing around with this where they put like Julio in different spots. Just keep it the way it is. And any combination of Suarez, Cal Raleigh, Teoscar Hernandez, and hopefully Ty France, that's your middle of the lineup. That makes the most sense. Haggerty is a second baseman, and you don't have one. Why are you playing him in the outfield or DHing him? Josh Rojas, I was tired of him playing second base in Arizona because he's a third baseman, but when he does play, his bat is good, and they should be playing him at second base. Because, again, they don't have a clear second baseman. Caballero's a backup. Haggerty's a backup, and so is Dylan Moore. But Dylan Moore's out there playing the outfield when they have plenty of outfielders. They got some from Arizona. They have their own. And then Kalenic, he's back and healthy, but again, he's not a middle lineup hitter at this point. Texas, the whole Simeon Seager is fine with Simeon leading off. They got speed. But imagine a middle lineup that has Seager, Garcia, and Lowe, and Mitch Garver, and Jung, and Josh Young. That's like a pretty good middle lineup. And then at the end, you got Robbie Grossman, DH, and playing left field. Cool, but he's not a 3-hitter. You want him 7th or maybe 6th or 7th. And then Martin Perez pitching a bullpen. I'm not that excited for rotation of Nathan Eovaldi and Jordan Montgomery and Jonathan Gray. Because Jonathan Gray was average in Colorado. He had a bad season last year. Eovaldi's had 3 Tommy John surgery. And Jordan Montgomery was not always a starting pitcher in his career. So it's like, I don't know. Martin Perez has been there and done that. I would have him in the rotation. Then Arizona, the Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte all season. I don't care if it's 1-2, them swapping around. Those are speed and contact guys. As you see, Carroll stealing all those bases is a rookie record with the amount of home runs he had. Tommy Pham, he's a good offensive player. But when you have Longo, and Lourdes Gurriel, and Christian Walker, those are the guys I want like 3 through 5. So one day Gurriel and Longo were 3 and 4. That made sense. Alec Thomas, Chicago native, Gold Glove center fielder, but he's not a middle lineup hitter. Manny Rivera batting 6th, that's a good spot for him because he's an offensive guy. He's not out there for defense. Diamondbacks clinched the playoffs and they got rid of one of their pitchers, so it's like, okay, I guess they don't have enough arms. They used an opener and a bullpen game. Lawler, the rookie shortstop, and Jake McCarthy, the glove first outfielder, batting 1 and 2. That's fine. Astros, Altuve's the perfect 2-hitter, and Bregman should be somewhere in the lineup between Alvarez, Tucker, and Abreu. Like, that's the whole point is Bregman's is a guy who's going to drive in a lot of runs. He's not a top-of-the-order hitter. And then I don't care if you're batting Michael Brantley 6th or 7th. At this point, with all of his injuries, you just need him in the lineup healthy to drive and run. Dubone, I know he's been on fire, like so was Chad McCormick. So you think if Chad McCormick's on fire, you play him every day in center field because you need left field open for Brantley or Alvarez. So I don't get it. Dubone and infield playing the outfield, and Chad's batting 7th a little bit too high. LA, the Sean Arnell first baseman dude. First basemans are not leadoff hitters. Like, it just doesn't make any sense, okay? And Grichuk, also not a leadoff hitter, but again, batting the 8th or 9th is stupid when he's driving. He's a 20 home run, 70 RBI guy. Like, it just makes no sense. And then they used an opener one day because, again, Ohtani's hurt. Most of this team is injured. Well, what is interesting, if you're a Chicago White Sox fan, is former starting pitching prospect Carson Fulmer, who the Sox never used a starting pitcher. He was as a reliever, and he's bounced around the league a million times. Started a game. I think that's interesting. Angels, Zach Geloff perfectly in the 2 spot. None of this 3 spot thing. Noda should be in the middle lineup with Rooker and Seth Brown. That's the most sense. Now, about Noda lead off for second. That's just do it for a slugger. Alesmis Diaz, again, he's a shortstop by trade, so third base is great. He's not an outfielder. Blade is not a cleanup hitter. If he used to go to offensively, Miami would have kept him. Carlos Perez, the other one. The third string catcher on this team, man. Because when the season started, he started because I think it was Manny Pena or whoever it was injured. And so he opened the season with the team. But then called up the Sinerstrom dude. And you got Langoliers, who was, before he got called up from Atlanta and got traded to Oakland, he considered one of the best catching prospects in all of baseball. They weren't sure about his bat. So, again, it's the third string catcher DHing him. It's just stupid. And then this Ruiz dude, who was a leadoff hitter until he lost his job, just had the rookies, just like his rookie season, he had all these stolen bases in the American League. Like, it's pretty impressive. So that's why it makes sense. Cardinals, Tommy Edman leading off. There was a lot of times where he batted 6, 7, 8, and I'm just like, what are you doing? And then a lot of times this year, Goldschmidt was batting second when he should be batting third. When he won the MVP, he was mostly batting third. Just think, Oliver Marmol. And then Lars Nootbaar, they batted him leadoff. They batted him second. They batted him 7th or 8th. But with them not playing Goldschmidt, Arenado, and Contreras, and Tyler O'Neill, this lineup has been embarrassing. Like, they haven't put up a real lineup. It's nobody's at every position or rookies at every position. And you're just like, you would think you want a Lars Nootbaar in the middle lineup because then it's at least respectable. And then Adam Wainwright, they said he wasn't going to pitch again even though he was lined up to start. So that was his last start. So they're like, let's give the fans something. Let's have Adam Wainwright, a National League pitcher, pinch hit. So he did that in his last at bat, which is interesting. Last game. Reds, the India Friedel 1 and 2 is fine because India, they batted him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Speed and contact. And Spencer Steer's their best run producer, so keeping him in the third spot is great. But playing him in the outfield, he's not an outfielder, stupid. First base makes sense. Nick Senzel has more experience in the outfield, but he's an infielder. So when he does play infield or bat second, I'm like, good. Not a middle lineup hitter. They lost a DH, with a lot of maneuvering around. They use an opener. And then Martini leading off. That's not the leadoff hitter. And De La Cruz went from being a leadoff hitter to a cleanup hitter to batting 8th or 9th, and he batted 2nd. So it's interesting. Brewers, Kristen Yelich and Contreras should be middle lineup. I've been over this. Sal Frelick and Adames batting 4th and 5th. Like, come on. I liked when Sal Frelick was leading off. Adames was batting 2nd. Marcana also not a leadoff hitter. I know he started in Yelich's place, but he doesn't mean you have to do the same spot in the lineup. Carlos Santana, I'm glad they got him because they're actually batting him in the middle lineup 3rd where he belongs. Cubs, the Horner batting 2nd, and Ian Happ batting 3rd. Those are the perfect spots for them because Talkman's been leading off some days. Patrick Wisdom, he's a first baseman, so they played him at first base at least once this weekend, but he also played him at second base and third base. Like, what are you doing? Okay? And Belly playing first base one time this weekend, but then going back to center field. Like, okay? Not a center fielder, really. Swanson batting 5th or 6th when he was great, when he was batting 2nd and Horner was at the top. Morel leading off and playing second base is cool, and they're DHing because, again, there's nowhere to put him because his bat is important, so it's somewhat okay. Candelario actually got to start at third base, which is what they got him for. Smiley pitching out a bullpen one of the days this weekend and then starting a game as an opener when he could have just been an actual starting pitcher. Seiya batting 2nd when he's a 4 through 6 hitter is stupid. They DH some rookie guy and they do him last. You don't put your DH last. And I wrote the word opener again because they used another one. Apparently enough pitching. Pete Armstrong leading off makes sense because he's got speed. And this Caminero rookie batting cleanup, I don't know about that. Royals, the Gael Garcia dude, batting leadoff when he batted in the middle lineup this year always makes me go, what's going on? And then if he's a shortstop, that's cool. But again, not his position. Bobby Witt Jr. batting 2nd has been great. Salvador Perez playing first base when he's a great catcher. I know they're trying to keep him healthy, but it's like you got other options at first base. You really do. And then Olivares and Nelson Velasquez are not middle lineup hitters or DHs. They used an opener. Melendez, though, he's a middle lineup hitter, but he's not an outfielder. We know he's a catcher by trade. He can't field. And Prado batting last when he's a slugging first baseman is silly. And then they DH someone else last. And I'm just like, again, DHs are not guys you bat last. Let me repeat that. You don't bat DHs last. Okay, then the Yankees. Florial batted leadoff because he's speed. Judge batting 2nd and Gleyber Torres batting 3rd is stupid when rookie catcher Wells, rookie shortstop Volpe, Cabrera, and Peraza, and Hishiaga, and every single other guy the Yankees have been using with all the injuries they've had this year and this season, those are not middle lineup hitters. Judge and Stanton are middle of the lineup hitters, and then Gleyber Torres batting in 5th or 6th. At least Jake Bauers has batted 4, 5, or 6 in this lineup this weekend and played first base instead of throwing him in the outfield. That makes sense. Volpe batted 2nd once. That makes sense. TJ LeMahieu leading off and playing first base and third base this weekend. He's not a leadoff hitter. He's not a first base or third. He's the second baseman. And Ishiaga is the backup catcher. Why would you DH him and bat him cleanup? That's not where backup catchers who can't really hit go, okay? Rockies, Blackman leading off. Roger 2nd. That makes sense. Nolan Jones and Chris Bryant middle lineup makes sense. Hey, especially with Bryant playing first base and not the outfield. But Nolan Jones, again, not an outfielder. He's a third baseman, first baseman. They used an opener, and then Tovar, I liked when he was 1 or 2. What's up with him batting 7th? Okay, Minnesota. I don't care where you're going to put Solano in the lineup because he was a journeyman. It wasn't until like this season he was on a roster like every day. It's been a few years. But he's not a first baseman. We've owned him. He's a third baseman, second baseman. I'm okay with him leading off. Polanco, we've already been over this. His first spot in the lineup is 5th, not 2nd. Luplo is a good backup outfielder to have, but he is not a first baseman. And backup outfielders do not bat in the middle of the lineup. 2nd is fine. And then they pitched him. I'm going to tell you this. Even though the Twins clinched their division and there weren't anything else they could do, in extra innings, they threw him out there to pitch. Because they're like, we don't care. We just want this game over. That's just not, playing to baseball. It's not fair and competitive just to say, we don't care. Like, come on. Like, you got to do better than that. They lost the DH maneuvering. Kyle Farmer, catcher by trade, stopped playing him as shortstop. If Julian and Willie Castro are 1 and 2, cool. But Julian batting 6th, not a power hitter. And again, Willie Castro's not an outfielder. Stop playing him there. They used an opener in one day and then had Paddock and Dallas Keuchel both pitch out a bullpen when they're both starting pitchers. They could have just started. And Christian Vasquez, you paid him all this money to be your starting catcher. But let's put him at first base in the last game of the season and throw him at second base. Like, again, that's not what you do with your starting catcher. Atlanta, Acuna leading off. I've been tired of this, but their lineup is so good, there's nowhere to put him. Because they finally put Albies and Olsen back. Albies 2nd, Olsen 4th, which I've been saying for a while. Again, Michael Harris, if he's not going to be your leadoff hitter or your 2 hitter or your 8 or 9 hitter, 6 is not where he belongs. Acuna playing right field, I've been over this for like 5 years. That's where he belongs, and they've been doing that. And Rosario should be batting 6 or 7, not 8. It's kind of a little too low for him. And Nicky Lopez, a natural-born shortstop, has no business playing first base. You could definitely play someone else there. Washington, the C.J. Abrams, the Nationals record for stolen base in the season. He got that. And I knew if he could hit better, he'd get more chances to steal. Lane Thomas drove in 100 runs out of the 2 spot for almost 90-something% of the season. Maybe he batted a few other places, but that's where they belong. Ruiz is a franchise catcher, but not a cleanup hitter or a DH over this. He's like a 6 or 7 hitter. And Luis Garcia, if he's not batting at the top, he should be the bottom. He's not a middle lineup hitter, nor is journeyman utility guy Ilma Vargas. And Alou is one of the many infielders they threw in the outfield this year, which again makes no sense. Blue Jays. Springer batting leadoff. We know if he's not a leadoff hitter, he's good in the middle. But right field, he's been super healthy this year because he's not playing center field. Brandon Belt is a middle lineup hitter, not a 2-hitter. And I don't want Bo Bichette or Biggio batting the middle lineup. I want those guys at the top or at the bottom. And again, Biggio's not a first baseman. He's not an outfielder, but he did bat second once. Varsho batting 9th is way too low. You got this guy because he can hit 20 home runs. And he's a catcher by trade. Stop playing with center field. Just keep him in left. And at least Whit Merrifield played second base this week, his natural position, but then they compounded that by throwing him in the outfield one day, but at least he batted leadoff. And then again, Schneider's not a middle lineup hitter. Orioles. Cedric Mullins leading off one day was cool, which is what he used to do, but 6 is not. Mountcastle, middle lineup hitter, not second, because Hayes is not a cleanup hitter either. Frazier's not a 7th hitter. You want him at the bottom. Gunnar leading off with Adley second. Those guys, I've been telling you, should be the middle lineup. And if Gunnar's a good shortstop, to play Urias every day at third base, and don't worry about Mateo. And what's annoying me is this team has so many outfielders on their team that they got to stupidly still throw out Ryan O'Hearn in the outfield when he's a first baseman DH and should always be in the middle lineup. Mateo, again, he had played some outfield for Oakland and San Diego, but he's an infielder. It's silly to see him in center field. And Urias, who's a very good natural-born shortstop who plays third base, should not be playing first base. I mean, he's a third baseman. He's not playing first base. Because then you got Mountcastle, and you also got yourself O'Hearn. Like, it just makes no sense. And Flaherty pitching a bullpen, I think, is stupid because I'd rather a postseason rotation of my guy Dean Kremer, Jonathan Means, and then going Flaherty. Because then you could choose to want to go with Old Man Gibson, rookie Grayson Rodriguez, or Tyler Braggs. Like, you can make that decision of who you want in the 4th spot. Kind of throw your hands there by doing that. Tie your hands behind your back for doing that. And I skipped Tampa Bay because I can't read. Yandy Diaz, again, we've been on this all season. He drives in a lot of runs. He can hit, and when he hits home runs, he'll drive in more, not leading off. Harold Ramirez, again, not a 2 or 3 hitter or a first baseman or DH, but I'm glad they're actually playing him in the outfield where he belongs because he's an actual outfielder. He's not, a first baseman or DH. Paredes, again, you got plenty of guys who can play first base on this team. Let him play third base. Like, we got a bunch of young guys. You just want his bat in the lineup. Okay, whatever. It's still stupid. Reynos should be middle lineup, not second. I like Caminero, the rookie, leading off. Again, Aranda's not a first baseman. He's a middle infielder by trade, and they used an opener because, again, that's what the Rays always do with their team. And then Red Sox. I like Rafael leading off with speed, but Devers should be middle lineup. He's not a 2-hitter. What does it say in Rafael Devers' game that he's going to get such a high on-base percentage? He's going to take a bunch of walks. He's going to steal bases. Like, no. He's going to hit 30 home runs and driving 100 runs. That's the middle lineup hitter. Duvall batting middle lineup and playing right field's great. But nope, played him in center field one day. Like, come on. You call up these young guys, Jalen Duran when he comes back from injury next year. Like, those are all the guys you want in center field. Okay, Rev Schneider, again, he's an infielder. Stop playing him in the outfield. They got plenty of guys. Pablo Reyes, super utility guys, don't bat 7th. And all season, Verdugo's batted leadoff. He's batted 2nd. He's batted 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Like, he's not a leadoff hitter, okay? And then it's a Abreu guy who's one of the young outfielders. Again, middle lineup is stupid. Okay, then you got Detroit. Torkelson had a great rebound season, hit a lot of home runs, drove in a lot of runs, but he's a middle lineup hitter, not a 2-hitter. And then Parker Meadows, you want to try and lead off spot? Cool. But stop playing Vierling at third base and Carpenter in the outfield. One's a great outfielder. One's, I don't know how good he is in the infield, but I don't want him in the outfield. And Vierling, if he's not batting 1 or 2, I don't want him middle lineup. They lost the DH with maneuvering because of the whole Miguel Cabrera thing. And they used an opener. And then Andy Abani is a useful utility guy. But again, he's not a first baseman or an outfielder. He's not a middle lineup hitter. Okay? Let me get to the Miguel Cabrera thing. All season long, for like the first half of the season, I'm like, you're batting Miguel Cabrera 7th. That's like an insult. he should be in his final season batting middle lineup, because what do you have besides Spencer Torkelson and Baez? Like, that's it. There was nothing else in this lineup that was great offensively that you're like, you got to play Miguel Cabrera that low. So they moved him up slowly to 6th for a few weeks or so, then 5th, and now he's batting 3rd or 4th. I'm like, that's where he belongs. And then they decided to give him one more time in the field by him playing first base, which is cool. That's how they lost the DH. Cleveland, again, Jose Ramirez, the mistake of keeping him in the 2 spot, instead of having the middle of the lineup where his RBI's potential would be much greater and more important when he came back from suspension, is one of the reasons I think they fell off. Okay? And then them using Laureano, a glove first player, the 8th, who are the worst team in baseball, said, we don't want this guy anymore, batting him in the middle lineup. And Jimenez batting 5th when he's not a power hitter. We've been over this. Okay? Pittsburgh. Connor Joe, they want his bat in the lineup. Cool. Not an outfielder and not a leadoff hitter. Okay? First base is where he belongs. Brian Reynolds is a perfect 2-hitter and a left fielder. Sawinski, he's had a good year offensively, but again, not a cleanup hitter. He's maybe a 6 or 7 hitter. They used an opener because they don't got enough pitching. Chirillo batting leadoff when he's not a speedy guy. Jason Bay playing center field when he's should be playing second base for this team. And Andujar is a corner infielder, DH. Not an outfielder, okay? Miami, Soler and Bell. You got those 2 guys to be the middle lineup, not to bat 1 and 2. Because I don't want to see Jazz Chisholm bat cleanup because he's not a cleanup hitter. I don't want to see Cruz or Sanchez batting anywhere between 3 and 6 because they're not power hitters. Okay? It just makes no sense. Nor is Garrett Hampson a utility guy. Birdie and Hampson are not outfielders. They're infielder by trade. That's what Jazz is. Stop playing in center field. Okay? The Houston opener. Okay? Edwards leading off was fine. And Cruz, you got some speed. De La Cruz bat him second. Why would you DH a gold glove first catcher, Jacob Stahl? That's like a dumb decision to DH him. He's got no offensive value. Wendell, again, not a shortstop. He's a second baseman, third baseman. Bogart, not a leadoff hitter. He's super slow. It's just so stupid. You had the lineup the way it was with Kim and Tatis. Keep it there. There's no reason for Kim to bat 5th. He's not a power hitter. Second is fine, but he's better than the leadoff spot. And Soto batting 3rd is he's the perfect 3-hitter. Nick Martinez, it was so bad for Team USA and not great for San Diego to start the season that he started a game against the White Sox and he was great. But he had better moments this year as a reliever. Then Jerkson Profar, reunion in San Diego. Cool. I saw him yesterday playing left field. He's not a bad outfielder, but he's an infielder. Okay? And again, not a middle lineup hitter. And Trent Grisham, I like the dude, but he's a glove first, gold glove center fielder, not a 7-hitter. And then Rich Hill, what was the point of trading for him at the deadline if you weren't going to use him as starting pitcher? Okay? Like, that absolutely makes no sense that they're wasting his time at his age to be like, you know what? You're going to be a reliever and your preparation is going to be different and you're not going to know when you're going to be playing and all this other stuff. And that's where I'm like, yeah, not really respectful to him, okay? And then we're going to get to the White Sox, my team that I am a personal fan of. Like, that's the team that I'm the most passionate about. Okay, Tim Anderson had a bad season, but they continue to bat him leadoff even though he had a bad season. There was one time he batted second. There was one time he played second base. Like, the dude had a bad season, and I understand why you didn't play him on Fan Appreciation Day, but that's an insult to us fans who come to the game, and we don't see one of our most popular players. I'm not saying best player, but most popular. You can't blame him because Luis Robert is injured. But you could have started Eloy. No one wants to see as Monty Grandal started DH. No one. And you start Tyler Naquin, who got 0 things done offensively. He made an amazing catch on Sunday, but no Andrew Benintendi, who I purposely would sit in left field to watch. And there are days where you don't start him and you give him the day off. The dude is not old. He doesn't need resting, okay? Because I like Gavin, but I don't want to see him. I don't want to see utility infielders playing left field. I came to see Andrew Benintendi, okay? And there's a lot of times where he was leading off, fine. But when he's batting in the middle lineup, it doesn't really help because he's not a home run hitter, as you could tell this year. Okay? Gavin Sheets, he didn't hit 20 home runs or drive in 80 runs because they played so much of Oscar Colas in right field and a bunch of rotating guys in the outfield, either infielders or guys off minor league contracts. Okay? Eloy played a few games in the outfield, but then Eloy's DHing and Vaughn is playing first base. So Sheets did not get enough opportunities this year that if he had more opportunities, he probably would have had 20 home runs because he's got the ability to do that. But again, he's defensive liability playing the outfield, so they don't play him there all the time. But if the White Sox do not get a right fielder in the offseason or have one in their minor league, just go into next season with Gavin Sheets in right field and make sure you have a really good 4th outfielder. I'm not saying get Billy Hamilton or Jake Marisnick again, but get a very good fourth outfielder who comes in the late innings and for defense. That's what you do. And then you still got Gavin Sheets' bats in the lineup. Elvis Andrus, he's batted leadoff this year. He's batted 6th or 7th or batted 8th or 9th. I like him at 8th or 9th or even the leadoff spot because he's not a power hitter. 7's way too high. Trace Thompson, he's a good backup outfielder. He played great plays in the outfield. He stole a base yesterday, but he's not a 7 hitter. Remillard, again, stop playing utility infielders in the outfield. That's not what we paid to see. Batting second's fine because he's a contact hitter. Lennon Sosa, play more of this guy. In a lot of games he played this year, he had good offensive numbers. But 6 is a little bit too high. Until he proves it, you bat him 8th or 9th. And Tyler Naquin batting 7th when he had him play in Major League Baseball all season. I think he signed him to deal with the Sox in spring training, and then he went overseas or whatever it is, and then came back. Again, 7 is way too high. But that's the lineup the Sox put out there. When you don't have Anderson, Benintendi, Robert, or Eloy. That's just, you're leaving Vaughn and Sheets. And there was no Moncada either. I know he's been horrible, but you want to play your regular everyday players, but I guess not. And then let me say this last thing. Chris Getz and your buddies Barfield and Bannister and the other guy. Why haven't you fired Pedro Griffo? The Giants fired Gabe Kapler, who got into the playoffs one time, and they've been okay. Francona's retired. The Mets parted ways with Buck Showalter, okay? And you're thinking to yourself, okay, the Mets had high expectations. They spent a lot of money. The White Sox, my expectations were kind of they could win this division. They could not win this division, okay? The Yankees have not fired Aaron Boone yet, but that could potentially be happening soon, okay? And Cardinals, they said they're going to keep Oliver Marmol, but they said the same thing about keeping Kapler a few weeks back, okay? And the Rockies stink, so they're not going to fire Bud Black. But I'm saying is there are other managers that probably could be fired. Like Bob Melvin, the Padres did not do well. The Yankees did not do well. But why haven't the White Sox fired this guy, Pedro Griffo? Because the latest reports out there's going to be a change to the coaching staff. Fine. Tell Ethan Katz we've had inconsistent pitching. Tell him that there's been no development on pitchers like Michael Kopech, okay? Tell the old man with the white hair, whoever his name is, the hitting coach, the Sox suck offensively. Do not fire assistant hitting coach Chris Johnson because he's not the lead guy in the room, okay? He's just following along, okay? Do not fire Daryl Boston. He's made Vaughn and Sheets and all these other dudes look respectable in the outfield when they're not outfielders, okay? They can get rid of the third base coach like they did with Joe McEwen. That's fine. I won't lose any sleep. But why did you reassign Kurt Hassler? He is not the pitching coach. He's the bullpen coach. That's more on the lead guy than him. He's a fan favorite. He played in your minor leagues, and he's coached in your minor leagues and worked for you. That's a disrespect to him. When Pedro Griffo and Ethan Katz and the lead hitting coach and probably third base coach, you can get rid of all of those guys. I would love to get Charlie Montaneo the manager job, but I don't know what real impact he had on the team this year. Thanks again for listening to the final regular season MLB observations of the 2023 to Week 27. Stay tuned for each round of the playoffs. For On the Raider Table Blog, I'm Raider. See you guys next time.